All right, we've gone through the sources you sent over, and today we're diving into something really quite formidable from Indian folklore, the Brahmarakshas. Our goal here is to unpack the story of a very specific supernatural entity, one that's born not from, simple sadness or rage, but from intense knowledge mixed with, well, terrible arrogance.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't your run-of-the-mill ghost story. People usually think of spirits as maybe lost or vengeful, but the Brahmarakshas is something else entirely. The sources are pretty clear. It's the trapped soul of a Brahmin, someone incredibly learned it, like a scholar or priest who really mastered complex knowledge in life.
And that's the contradiction that makes this so interesting, isn't it? We're looking at a being that's basically cursed by its own smarts. So the big question, I guess, is what really happens when you get that kind of profound intellect colliding with just massive unchecked pride?
Well, what happens is this kind of spiritual tragedy. It all stems from misusing sacred knowledge. You have this scholar dedicated to mastering things like the Vedas or Tantra, but then they stray, they commit serious sins, or maybe just let their ego completely take over, abandoning dharma or righteous living.
And then when they die, often violently or unnaturally, the sources say their soul gets stuck. It's like a spiritual checkmate.
Yeah.
They know too much, they have too strong an identity built on that knowledge to just dissipate like a normal spirit, a pret.
Precisely. That deep knowledge prevents simple dissolution, their identity fights it, but their sins, their transgressions, they block the path to moksha, to liberation, so they're literally cursed by the very learning they've spent their life acquiring.
Yeah.
Trapped as this incredibly intelligent, often malevolent entity tied to the earth.
It sounds almost like a philosophical concept given terrifying form. I mean, the stories mention immense physical power too, the strength of thousands of elephants. Why that kind of raw strength if the core issue is intellectual?
That physical power is sort of the outward sign of their intense inner turmoil and, well, power. But it's the mind, the scholarly knowledge they retain that makes them truly dangerous. That's what weaponizes the strength.
Yeah.
The real threat comes from their intelligence and the abilities tied to their past learning.
Okay, let's break down those abilities. What are we talking about?
Well, first, there's Mayavi Shaktiyan. That's the power of illusion, shape-shifting. They can look like anyone, any animal, or just be invisible. But maybe more insidious is Vashikaran, mind control, essentially. They can create delusions, push people towards madness, make them obey commands. And crucially, because they still understand the Vedas, the mantras, the Tantra, they know the rules of the cosmos, you could say, and they know how to twist them, makes them uniquely formidable.
Right. So if you were unlucky enough to cross paths with one, where would that likely be? What's their typical hangout, and what's their general attitude?
They tend to be bound to the place they died, guarding it fiercely. Sources often point to really old, significant trees like peepal or banyan trees, or sometimes ruined temples, especially Shiva temples. As for their nature, it's described as intensely angry, destructive. Tamasic is the word used driven by darkness, chaos, that kind of thing.
So they're not just trying to scare people, it's actively harmful.
Oh, absolutely. They seem to take pleasure in causing suffering, misleading travelers, making people sick, even killing them, and often they demand worship. It seems to feed that intellectual ego that couldn't find peace after death.
Okay, here's something I was wondering. If they're trapped by their knowledge, but they still possess that knowledge, like mastery of mantras, why can't they just use a mantra to free themselves? Seems like a loophole.
Ah, that's the tragic irony, isn't it? Their actions in life, their lack of dharma, mean that knowledge is sort of corrupted. It's useless for their own liberation after death. Salvation has to come from outside, and it's incredibly hard. It usually takes someone with immense spiritual authority, like a true saint, a siddha yogi, or a very powerful tantric practitioner, to confront and ritually appease or overcome them.
Are there any maybe less confrontational ways to help them find peace?
Yes, the lore suggests a couple of conditional paths. One is if a genuinely righteous person manages to fulfill the entity's last unfinished wish from life, maybe something noble they couldn't complete. The other way is through their descendants. If they perform specific, often complex ancestral rites like pindayan or tarpan, these rituals involving offerings are meant to finally give peace to that neglected, powerful ancestor.
So pulling this all together, what's the takeaway from these old stories for us, you think? It seems the core lesson is pretty stark. Knowledge isn't automatically good. It's a tool, a powerful one. And real power, maybe real wisdom, lies in using it for good, for welfare, because the alternative, using it for ego or destruction, can lead to this self-made prison, a state Worse than ignorance, perhaps.
Precisely. And it really makes you think, doesn't it, about modern forms of what you might call knowledge arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
When we see brilliant people today in science, tech, politics, wherever, using their unique insights purely for personal gain or status or control, are they not, in a way, setting themselves up for their own kind of metaphorical curse? What sort of powerful, maybe dangerous entities are we creating now when knowledge gets detached from wisdom and ethics?
Something to ponder, definitely.